It's quiet in the office today, not the normal, productive hum of keyboards and hushed phone calls. This is a heavy, deliberate silence, a thick blanket of awkwardness, and I'm the black hole at its center. I can practically feel the gravitational pull of it, warping the paths people take to the coffee machine, bending conversations away from my cubicle. The usual clatter of keyboards has been replaced by muffled, careful taps, as if everyone is afraid a sudden noise might cause me to detonate. Even Brenda from accounting, who I literally spent 2 hours helping with her quarterly reports last month, suddenly found the ceiling tiles absolutely fascinating when I tried to catch her eye. It's suffocating. I just got out of the talk. My director, Richard, and an HR drone named Carol who had this practiced, sympathetic but firm mask plastered on her face. Richard couldn't even look at me for most of it. They used all the greatest hits from the corporate jargon songbook. Unprofessional conduct, fostering a hostile environment, a serious lapse in judgment. It wasn't a conversation. It was a sentencing. They didn't fire me, which is somehow the most sadistic part of it all. It's like they've put me in a zoo exhibit with a little plaque that reads, "Olivia, the woman who finally snapped. Please do not tap the glass." So now I'm back at my desk, my fingers hitting the keyboard way too hard as I stare at this blank document. If I don't get this out, I think my head might actually explode. Okay, fine. I'll be the bigger person and admit it. Maybe the all-staff group chat with 300 people in it wasn't the ideal venue for my observations. Maybe, but am I wrong? Absolutely not. Someone had to say it. Everyone was thinking it when that email went out. I saw it in their eyes. They were just too cowardly to type the words. Jasmine getting that senior account manager role is a complete and utter insult to everyone who actually does the work around here. I didn't do it to be cruel. I did it because the truth is supposed to matter. So why am I the one being treated like a pariah? Why am I the one sitting in this crushing silence while she's getting her new business cards printed? It just doesn't make any sense. This whole thing with Jasmine, it wasn't a sudden rivalry. It's been a Cold War fought in the trenches of our shared open plan office for the better part of a year. I know she's been gunning for me since day one. You can just tell with some people. It's in the way they look at you when you're speaking in a meeting, that little tight smile that doesn't reach their eyes. She was always playing the long game, and I saw right through her. I started keeping a mental list of her little power plays, a catalog of injustices. There was the time during a casual team huddle when I floated the idea of using a new analytics software. I just mentioned it offhand, a seed of a thought. 2 weeks later, Jasmine presents a full-blown, 20-page proposal on that exact software to Richard, complete with a detailed budget and implementation timeline. She even had the nerve to say, "I was just inspired in the shower one morning." Richard praised her for her proactive initiative. My initiative. I felt a hot flush of rage creep up my neck. It was like watching someone steal a thought directly from my brain and get a medal for it. Then there was the deliberate, quiet sabotage. We were both working on the massive Sterling account, and I was due to present our quarterly progress. The night before, I saw she was the last one to edit the shared presentation deck. When I opened it in the meeting, a key data slide was corrupted. It wouldn't load. I looked like a complete idiot, fumbling and trying to explain the numbers from memory. She just sat there, looking concerned, and even offered to jump in if needed. She knew exactly what she'd done. She made me look incompetent and then positioned herself as the savior. Her networking wasn't just networking, it was espionage. She made a point of having lunch with people from different departments, laughing and building her little network of allies. I saw it for what it was, blatant political maneuvering. While I was at my desk, working through my lunch break to actually land the results we were hired to get, she was out there charming the finance guys and the tech support team. She wasn't making friends, she was building an army. She learned that Richard's daughter played soccer and would ask about the big game on Monday mornings. It was a master class in sycophancy that made my teeth ache. I believe in merit. I believe your work should speak for itself. I don't play these stupid games. I tried once, organizing a team-building happy hour. She showed up for 10 minutes, said a loud hello to the boss, and then left, claiming she had a prior family commitment. The next day, I saw pictures on Instagram of her and half the marketing team at a fancy cocktail bar. A family commitment, my ass. So yes, this promotion to senior account manager was the final battle in a war she had been waging against me from the start. It wasn't just a job title, it was the finish line. She was constantly positioning herself, chipping away at my contributions, making sure her name was attached to every success, no matter how small. She'd copy Richard on emails that had nothing to do with him, just to make sure he saw she was working late. It was a death by 1,000 paper cuts. I knew this promotion would come down to one of us, and I refused to believe that I lost fair and square. She operates in the shadows, and I was the only one who had the guts to see it. It all came crashing down last Tuesday afternoon. I was neck-deep in a spreadsheet, trying to reconcile some god-awful numbers for a client report, when the email notification popped up in the corner of my screen. The subject line was innocuous enough, personnel announcement, but my stomach instantly clenched. I knew. We all knew this was the week the decision was being made. My heart started hammering against my ribs, a frantic, trapped bird. I told myself to be cool. I'd put in the hours. My numbers were solid. My client feedback was consistently excellent. Richard had even told me my work on the recent Bluebird project was impressive. That had to count for something, right? I clicked the email. My eyes scanned past the corporate boilerplate, searching for the name. And then I saw it. Jasmine Reyes. Her name in bold right under the new title, Senior Account Manager. Below it was her official corporate headshot. The one where she's smiling, that perfectly calibrated, toothy smile that I've always found so fake. The email was full of praise, a nauseating word salad of corporate buzzwords. Jasmine has consistently demonstrated exceptional leadership. Her invaluable contributions to the Bluebird project. We are thrilled to recognize her talent. I felt the blood drain from my face. It was a physical sensation, like all the warmth was being sucked out of me through the soles of my feet. Invaluable contributions. On the Bluebird project, she was in charge of coordinating the presentation visuals, while I was the one working until 10 p.m. every night for 2 weeks, actually analyzing the data and writing the strategy. She made the slides look pretty. That was her invaluable contribution. I must have read the email 5, 6, maybe 7 times. Each time the words blurred a little more, the rage building inside me like a pressure cooker. This wasn't a promotion based on merit. This was a political victory. It was a reward for her schmoozing, her fake smiles, her perfectly timed compliments to the boss. It was a complete and utter sham. Every late night I'd worked, every weekend I'd sacrificed, it all felt like it had been for nothing. It was all just fuel for her victory parade. I just sat there, staring at her smiling face on my screen, and I felt a kind of hot, bitter humiliation that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And in that moment, she was. The final nail in the coffin wasn't the email itself. It was what happened about 10 minutes later. My team lead, Mark, who I'd always thought was a decent guy, posted a screenshot of the announcement in our department's group chat. It's a massive chat, a sprawling digital town square with maybe 300 people from across the country in it. His message was sickeningly cheerful. A huge, well-deserved congratulations to our very own Jasmine Reyes. So proud to see your hard work pay off. Partying party. And then it started. A digital avalanche of sycophantic glee. Congrats, Jasmine. OMG, yes. So amazing. Couldn't have happened to a nicer person. Well done. Bottle clinking time to celebrate. My phone was buzzing incessantly on my desk. Each vibration a tiny, electronic endorsement of this lie. I was watching this tidal wave of praise build for a victory I knew was fraudulent. I felt my hands start to shake, a tremor that started in my fingertips and worked its way up my arms. My vision narrowed until the only thing I could see was the chat window on my screen, the smiling emojis and exclamation points mocking me. The injustice of it all was a physical thing, a sour, metallic taste in the back of my throat. I don't even remember thinking about it. My fingers just started moving, fueled by a year of suppressed frustration and pure, unadulterated rage. My first message was subtle, or at least in my head, it was a masterpiece of pointed understatement. Oh, congrats. The chat paused for a beat. The rapid-fire congratulations stopped. the digital equivalent of a record scratch. Then, a colleague, Dana, who always plays the role of office mom, replied directly to me. "Everything okay, Olivia." That was it. That was the spark that lit the fuse. The condescension, the feigned concern. She was patronizing me. They were all in on it, pretending this was normal. My fingers flew across the keyboard, a blur of motion. "Just surprised is all," I typed. I didn't realize we were promoting based on who has the best social skills instead of, actual results. My mistake. Absolute silence in the chat. A beautiful, deafening silence. I could feel the digital gasp from 300 people at once. I knew I should stop. A tiny, rational part of my brain, the part that pays my rent, was screaming at me to put the phone down, walk to the bathroom, and splash cold water on my face. But I couldn't. The rage was a wild animal, and I had just unlocked its cage. It was exhilarating. "I mean, I guess her contributions to the Bluebird project were pretty critical," I continued, the sarcasm practically dripping from the screen. I was just so busy with the data analysis and strategy that I must have missed the genius of her work. After all, making sure the PowerPoint slides have a consistent font is a truly rare talent. Definitely senior management material. The moment I hit send, a strange, giddy sense of calm washed over me. The truth was out. I had shattered the illusion. I had said the thing everyone else was too afraid to say. I leaned back in my chair, my heart still pounding, but with a weird, intoxicating sense of triumph. It lasted for about 15 seconds. Then I saw the notification at the top of the chat, a cold, gray system message. "Mark has removed Olivia from the group." And just like that, I was gone. The silence that followed in the chat was nothing compared to the silence that suddenly filled my entire world. The next morning, the silence I'd felt at my desk had metastasized. It was no longer just a lack of noise. It was an active presence. It followed me from the moment I walked through the door. The security guard, who usually gave me a cheerful "Morning, Olivia," just nodded curtly. The usual morning chatter in the kitchen went quiet as I filled my coffee mug. It was like I was wearing an invisibility cloak, but one that only made me invisible to kindness. I was removed from the project management software for 2 of my key accounts. No email, no explanation. One minute I had access, the next I was met with a "You do not have permission to view this page" error. I was CC'd on an email chain where my own client was asking questions. But when I tried to reply, I realized I'd been moved to BCC. I was a ghost, allowed to watch but not to participate. The real execution, however, was delivered by Jasmine herself. She scheduled a 15-minute meeting with me titled "Workflow Transition." She was my new boss, after all. She sat across from me in a small glass conference room, her posture perfect, her expression a carefully neutral mask. There was no anger, no gloating, just a chilling, professional detachment. "Olivia," she began, her voice even and calm. "Moving forward, your primary responsibility will be managing the archival process for all completed projects. You'll be ensuring all documentation is correctly filed and tagged for our records." I just stared at her. Archival work. It was the corporate equivalent of being sent to Siberia. It was a dead-end, mind-numbing task usually given to interns. "What about the Sterling account? Or the Nelson pitch?" I asked, my voice sounding weaker than I wanted. "Thank you for your hard work on those," she said, as if reading from a script. "Mark and I will be handling them from here on out to ensure a smooth transition under the new leadership structure. You'll receive a full brief on the archival protocols by the end of the day." And that was it. She didn't mention the group chat. She didn't mention my comments. She didn't have to. She was dismantling my career with the polite, procedural precision of a surgeon. She was isolating me, cutting me off from everything meaningful about my job, and doing it all with a professional smile. I wasn't fired. I was being erased, buried alive under a mountain of digital paperwork. It was a slow, quiet, and utterly humiliating professional death, and she was the one signing the certificate. I spent the next few days in a fog of rage and disbelief, clicking through old folders and tagging ancient documents like a well-dressed zombie. The isolation was absolute. Then, on Friday, I was standing by the water cooler. pretending to be interested in the filtered water options, when two junior analysts, Chloe and Sam, walked up. They didn't see me tucked away in the alcove. "It's just so brutal," Chloe said in a hushed voice. "I still can't believe she did that in the main chat. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion." Sam sighed, filling his bottle. "I know, and the worst part is it's all so messed up. I was talking to David's assistant yesterday. David is our department head, the big boss." My ears perked up. "She said David had already made his decision last week," Sam continued, lowering his voice even more. "He was going to promote Jasmine to senior manager, but he was also creating a new, parallel role for Olivia. Something like lead strategic planner. He was going to announce both at the same time." I felt the plastic cup in my hand start to buckle. Chloe gasped. "Are you serious? So they were both getting promoted?" "Yep," Sam said, screwing the cap on his bottle. "Apparently, Jasmine had been pushing for it. David's assistant said that in her final interview, Jasmine spent half the time talking about Olivia's strengths, saying how they complemented each other and how they could co-lead the department. She was the one who sold him on the idea of promoting them both." The cup slipped from my fingers and clattered to the floor, splashing water on my shoes. Chloe and Sam jumped, finally seeing me. Their faces went pale, a perfect mirror of horrified guilt. They mumbled apologies and practically ran away. I just stood there, staring at the puddle on the floor. The sound of their words echoed in the sudden silence. Jasmine spent half the time talking about Olivia's strengths. She was the one who sold him on the idea of promoting them both. It didn't compute. It was like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. My entire narrative, the one I had so carefully constructed, the secret war, the sabotage, the political maneuvering, it all just shattered. In an instant, I wasn't a righteous warrior fighting a hidden enemy. I was just a fool who had declared war on an army that never existed. A month later, I typed out my resignation letter. There was no grand exit, no final confrontation. I just emailed it to HR and Richard, packed my sad little box of desk plants and coffee mugs, and walked out of the building for the last time. The silence followed me all the way to the elevator. I was confident, cocky even. I told myself this was a blessing in disguise. The company was toxic, the leadership was blind, and I was better than them. With my experience and my portfolio, I'd have a new, better job in weeks. I spent the first week polishing my resume, crafting tailored cover letters, and networking on LinkedIn. I fired off applications to dozens of companies. Then I waited for the calls to roll in. They never did. Out of 50 applications, I got one interview. It was with a smaller firm, a step down, but I was getting desperate. The first round went great. The second round with the hiring manager was even better. He was enthusiastic. "You're exactly what we're looking for, Olivia," he said, shaking my hand. "We just have to do a routine reference check, and then we'll get an offer out to you." A week went by, then two. I followed up with a polite email. The recruiter replied with a terse, one-sentence message. "Thank you for your interest, but we've decided to move forward with another candidate." I was devastated. I couldn't understand what had happened. It took me another week of calling in a favor with a friend of a friend who worked in recruiting to find out the truth. My contact was hesitant but finally told me. When the firm had called my old director, Richard, for a reference, he hadn't badmouthed me. He didn't have to. He just calmly, factually stated that my tenure had ended shortly after an incident where I publicly questioned a colleague's professional capabilities and integrity in a company-wide communication channel. That was it. That one sentence, delivered in cold, professional language, was a death sentence. I hadn't just burned a bridge with Jasmine. My little tantrum in the group chat, those few minutes of uncontrolled rage, had become the first domino. It had tipped over and hit my job, which then hit my professional reputation, which was now poisoning my entire career in this city. I was radioactive, all because I couldn't stand to see her win, a race I was never even competing in.